There is so much more to color grading than just making your footage look cinematic. Take a look at this shot and let me know how it makes you feel. Now let's take that same shot and do a little bit different color scheme on it. Now there was a huge difference between both of those scenes, and you don't have to be filming a movie to use color to help enhance your story. I know many of you are YouTubers and creators, and understanding color theory is really gonna give you that emotional punch to make your videos stand out. So I've been watching a ton of the color theory videos that I've found on YouTube, and everything's kind of skewed towards like Hollywood and big cinema. So my goal with this video is to bridge that gap and show you what color theory is and how you can apply it to the videos that you're creating, whether you're doing some big Hollywood blockbuster or you're just editing your vlog that you shot yesterday. So in one of my recent videos, I did a color transition, and this is one of the tactics that you use to be able to make your videos stand out. I started out the video with cool tones, and I layered in sound effects to feel like I was waking up in the outdoors in a tent. Now the twist is that I was actually in my backyard, and so I transitioned the colors from blue to more oranges to warmer colors, so that it hits you on an emotional level. And the cool thing about it is I saw this transition actually having an impact with the viewers that were watching it. Down in the comments, I saw multiple people talking about how the intro caught them off guard, or like just kind of was something different and stood out. It's because of the color transition that I used along with sound effects and music and all of that. If you've seen the YouTuber Josh Yo, his channel Make Art Now, he uses a triadic color scheme in some of his videos to help give it that cyberpunk feel. So the reason that you would use specific colors in a scene is to give some sort of impact, whether it's mood, feeling, or you're just trying to show some sort of transition from one state to another. And color is a great way to kind of hit people on a subconscious level where they don't really think about the color, but it's there and it's causing them to feel a certain way. So for example, in Star Wars, as soon as you see the lightsabers, you know good versus evil, blue versus red. However, you look at a film like Her, and the color red becomes a symbol of love because he's falling in love with his operating system. So specific colors can take on different meanings depending on the situation you use them in. However, how you make it work is that you associate a color with something in your video. And then when this color changes, say it goes from a blue to an orange, that's called a transition, and it hits people on this different level where they feel like something has changed. So in movies, a lot of times they will use this as a character transition. It's also used as simply as transitioning from one scene to another. You're gonna use associations and transitions to help move the story along, and you don't have to be like a huge Hollywood director to be using these kind of principles in your videos. Even just here on YouTube, the choices you make in your background or the clothes you wear will have a significant impact on the people on the other side of the camera. You guys. Now, to understand how to use color in your videos, we first need to break down some different elements on how color works. So first is hue, and this is the actual color. So when we're talking about the color red, then that is the hue. On a color wheel, each color is a hue, whether it's yellow, orange, red, pink, blue, green, etc. Next is saturation, and that's the intensity of your hue. So little or no saturation is gonna give you a pale color, and if you completely pull out your saturation, it'll turn into a gray. Whereas in comparison with lots of saturation, you're gonna see an extremely vibrant hue. The third thing is value, and this is the lightness or darkness of a hue. So how bright or dark your color is. And you change this by adding white to make it brighter and black to make it darker. And this does not affect the saturation. So you're gonna use a combination of these three elements to create your color grade. So let me just show you a quick example. This is a shot that I just pulled off ArtGrid, which is a great place to grab some stock footage, and they allow you to download log and raw footage, so it's a great tool to use to practice color grading. Let's take the log and bring it to Rec 709. This is just a base correction. It looks good, but we can use hue, saturation, and value to create a different feeling out of this scene. Right now there's a complementary color scheme going on. That's kind of how this scene was shot. Let's make it analogous by bringing the blues into the greens and the oranges more into the yellow. From here we'll desaturate and we'll add some white into the value and give it a nostalgic feel. Now let's go the completely other way. I want to emphasize the contrast with the blues and the oranges. So let's focus all the colors into the blue and the orange spectrum, and then boost the saturation and add a little more black into the values of this color. And now you can see we have a completely different look and feel than the original Rec 709, just standard color grade. So you're probably wondering, what are these different terms I'm talking about? Analogous, monochromatic, triadic? Well, these are color schemes. Color schemes create harmony in your footage, and it's pleasing for the viewer to watch. And so I want to go over a few different color schemes that you can use in your videos, and some that are very popular and you'll see time and time again. So a monochromatic color scheme uses one color, but then they change up the saturation and values to produce all the colors in a scene. A super prominent example of this is The Matrix. They use the green hue to give you that feeling that you're in a computer simulation. And then they use saturation and value to give the scene its depth. An analogous color scheme is where a group of colors are used from the same part of the color wheel. And you'll see this used all the time, whether it's pushing into the blue spectrum to really make things cool, or you push more into the yellows and the oranges, and it really gives a warm quality to the footage that you're watching. The next is a complementary color scheme, and this is where you're using colors on other ends of the spectrum. One of the prime examples of this is Mad Max, because they push the color and saturation so far into this contrast look that you really see like this huge color contrast between like the sky and what's going on in the foreground. Super orange and teal. Now this is like your standard color scheme that you'll see across all cinema, and the reason for that is orange and teal work super well for filming. Skin tone pushes into that orange color hue, and so when you want to make a complementary color to that, across the end of the spectrum is teal. So that's why you see orange and teal all over the place. Now there's obviously different variances in how you use your orange teal, how much you bump up your saturation, pull it down, but that's why that look is so classic and why it's such a popular look. It's just an easy way to create more of a cinematic feel in your videos if you add more of this orange teal quality to your footage. A triadic color scheme is where you use 3 colors that are spaced out evenly on the color wheel. And a lot of sci-fi movies will end up using this color scheme, but it's obviously not limited to that. Now it's important to understand these types of color schemes that you're gonna see again and again, but one thing that you really need to think about is how you use a color that's kind of outside of a color scheme. This is called a discordant color scheme, and that's where you're taking a color that doesn't fit within one of the schemes. And oftentimes you'll see people use like a yellow jacket in a very blue environment. And the reason is the yellow really pops because yellow is not exactly across the color wheel from blue and really catches your eye. So using a hue that doesn't fit within your color scheme is really gonna drive attention to that object. It's a lot of times why I'll wear like a red jacket when I'm out in nature, because your eye gets drawn to that. So understanding color schemes is really gonna make your videos stand out, and understanding when to use a color that doesn't fit into the color scheme is gonna drive more focus to that object or that thing that you're using. So having a color scheme to your videos is really gonna help hit your audience on more of an emotional, psychological, and potentially even physical level. And then using a color that doesn't fit within that color scheme will help make something stand out in your video, and you can use that to transition a scene, or you can use it to move your story forward. So let's put this into practice, and I want to show you how you can use your color correction tools to change your color scheme within a scene. Now you can use any color grading software to do these kind of edits. However, the one that I use is called CinemaGrade. And if you guys are interested in this, there's a free trial. I'll put a link down below in the description. It works with Final Cut, it works with Premiere, and it works with Resolve. It's a different approach to the color grading tools, and I like how the interface works. It makes it super easy for me to do my grades. So here's another shot that I pulled from ArtGrid. It has a ton of different colors in it. Now I want to create a few different schemes out of this. Let's first make an analogous look, and I want to push it into the warm tones. So I'm looking for reds, yellows, and greens. First, what I'm going to do is shift my hue of the scene towards the warm end of the spectrum. And I'm going to play around with saturation to bring up or take out other colors in the background. Now we have an analogous look. Next, let's transition this and let's make a complementary classic orange teal look. I'm gonna push all of the colors into either orange or teal by adjusting the hue. And then I'm gonna use saturation and value to play around with any other colors that I'm seeing in the background, pull things out, make them a little darker, and then really push it into the orange teal classic complementary look. All right, let's get a little more complex. Let's do a triadic look. So my goal is to push into pink, blue, and yellow. And I'm going to adjust the different colors that I'm seeing in the scene until they fit one of these color hues. and then I'll play with saturation and value to finish up the look so it really has that pop of those three colors. Now let's do a monochromatic look, and I want to remove all color out of this image except for blue, and I'm going to do this by changing hues, bringing down the saturation of other colors, and then I'm going to play with the value to really make the image pop by adding more dark blues and light blues into the scene. Now let me give you my biggest piece of advice. Cinematic color grading doesn't come from one specific look. What makes a color grade cinematic is using your color grade to help tell your story. So giving meaning to the color and using it to help transition your scenes and give your audience a little bit something more than just making your footage look cool. And it could be as simple as just changing up the color of the background of your image. And as you can see, here's a few different YouTubers that use color theory when they've built out their background, and each one has a distinct look. All right, now that you have an understanding of color theory, I highly suggest you check out this video right here. It's a step-by-step guide to get you into doing more color grading and start creating these looks in your edit.